What is up, my friends? I have played another nostalgia trip of a game, and honestly, I'm going to start calling this segment of the channel Glazing, because I got nothing but nice things to say about this game for the most part. Now, there are a couple criticisms, but we all know Star Wars, The Force Unleashed, where you are Darth Vader's secret apprentice. It is a staple in Legends lore in Star Wars. Now, this is a gaming channel, not so much a Star Wars channel. I'm pretty sure most gamers know the lore in depth of Star Wars, Legends versus current canon. But let me fill you in if you don't know, if you're not in the loop. So, Disney bought out Star Wars a long time ago. Obviously, they own the rights to the brand, and they have made sequel movies and a lot of TV shows that has replaced a lot of the canon that we had in Legends. There were extended books of Luke Skywalker post Return of the Jedi, just a lot of cool stuff. And the wild part is that Legends and canon are different down to the very thoughts each character has. If you go to any Star Wars channel, like I think Stupendous Wave, they go over videos where they talk about what each character was thinking at certain points in the story, canon and Legends. It's amazing how in depth they have replaced the lore. But where am I going with this? If I had to pick between current Disney canon and what used to be canon but is now Legends and the stuff that got replaced by what is current Star Wars, I would pick Legends lore, 9 times out of 10. Now, there are some things about Disney lore that I actually do like that they've introduced, like how red lightsabers happen, where you have to bleed the crystal and show it pain, which is kind of in line with Legends lore of red lightsaber crystals. In Legends, they were synthetically grown, but I mean, I'm just giving examples of the lore. I'm going to give credence to what I did like that they replaced, but for the most part, I think Legends lore is really where it's at. Even if there was no more bleeding of the crystals and it was just all synthetic based, I'd still go with Legends, to be honest. But it's okay, because Legends would still give us the original movies and the Clone Wars and all that stuff. Obviously, Jedi Survivor and Jedi Fallen Order wouldn't be canon anymore, which is a shame, because those are the two Star Wars stories from like the new era of canon Star Wars that I actually really enjoy. But Force Unleashed is really something special, because it was like really the precursor to what is now Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor, where you get to customize your own lightsaber, use Force abilities, but mainly from this one, you start off in the dark side and work your way to the light, whereas Jedi Survivor, it seems like you're starting off in the light side and now you're being tempted by the dark side. So it's a little bit of a step backwards on that thing, but honestly, to Jedi Survivor's credit, I think they're doing it rather well, and they're actually giving you the feel of turning to the dark side. But I'm not going to give a full-on description and just talk about what happened during the game, because everyone's done that. Everyone knows the story. There's been too many videos about rehashing a summary of the story that I think that at this point, if I were to do it, it would be a little redundant. But it is a story about cleansing, about breaking free, about, getting back the time that you've lost. Because that's the thing about Starkiller, aka Galen Merrick, that is so amazing, is he didn't really have a say in where his childhood leading into his young adulthood was going to lead him. Whereas now he has a chance to take it back. And the thing is all the people who come along and help him along the way, like General Coda being one of my favorites, just because like his whole backstory is so legendary. He was able to survive Order 66 because he didn't think the Clone Wars were adequate enough to serve him in battle, so they were never able to really get the jump on him. But even though you defeat him at the end of the first level, he becomes one of your closest allies through the second half of the game. And I will realize this game did a really good job of drawing out the dark side missions, which are like the first 3 of them, and then the next, I think 6 are light side, but I think the 6 light side missions actually move rather quickly compared to the drawn out 3 dark side stories. But I feel like that's where the excitement kind of took off, which is why the game probably went faster. But yeah, no, the levels very well put together, not too much, not too little. It didn't feel rushed. Everything felt really fine-tuned. The gameplay, for the time, it was a little clunky compared to what we have now. A lot of the stuff we have now is a lot smoother in the coding, but you could tell that the mechanics of this game have been outdated, and this definitely is an older game, but it gives you an appreciation for how far gaming overall and the feeling of gaming has come. The nostalgia factor is always amazing. Obviously, every enemy has a certain feel. Like, I found myself actually playing around with the different abilities of Force Push, Force Lightning, Force Repulse, all these things, lightsaber combat. I found ways to mix and match them into ways that were good for defeating each enemy, and then I kind of stuck with that and had a blueprint as to what worked best for each guy. Because honestly, I could tell with this game, even if you're playing on the easiest difficulty, a lot of these enemies will absolutely derail you if you are not paying attention to what you're doing. This game can be a challenge even on the easiest difficulty if you are not paying attention to what you're doing, especially the final Darth Vader fight. I've realized, not the first half, but the second, if you go with the dark side ending where you decide to finish off Darth Vader and become the Darth Sidious's new apprentice. I actually found that more challenging than the battle with Darth Sidious itself. But the settings were pretty awesome. Now, the dark side to this, the dark side to this game is that, you know, a lot of these final levels are just rehashes of levels you've already visited, like Raxus Prime, Imperial Raxus Prime, Felucia, Imperial Felucia. It's just basically revisiting places that you've left in your wake in this game, and I think it is part of the point of the game, just to give it a little bit of benefit of the doubt right here that, yeah, you do have to go back and free these places from the devastation that you yourself have caused. But like I said, this is completely a purification game. It's about purifying things, not just you, but the world around you. And look, I know a lot of people had a lot of flack with this game because, like, at the end, he sacrifices himself to save the rebellion, and they use his family crest as the rebellion symbol. And a lot of people took issue with that because you think, oh, if he's so important, why wasn't he mentioned in the original movies at all? It's like, well, I don't think they had in mind that they were going to make this game when they're making the original trilogy. So, you know what? It happens. Even if, like, we want to go with a Legends timeline, I still thought that it was a really good way to cap off this movie and give meaning to this rebellion symbol. Like, this game really tied into the original movies better than a lot of people wanted to give it credit for, I feel like. Sometimes you just have haters out there. But also, one of my most favorite parts of this game is the customization you could use to your lightsaber and changing the blade. Now, obviously, there's the colors we're all familiar with, and I think this is where a lot of the colors actually did start off. Obviously, you got your red, blue, green, and purple from the original and prequel trilogies. But I remember when I first played this game, I got introduced to a couple more colors. Yellow, gold, and even the black lightsaber. If you're playing the Xbox 360 or PS3 version, there was the black lightsaber. And this was before, I think, the Darksaber even got introduced in the Clone Wars. So no one really knew what the Darksaber was at the time. So going back thinking before all of that lore got flushed out with the Clone Wars and the Mandalorian and everything like that, this was a big shock to us when we first played it, because we're like, okay, so a black lightsaber is doable. Now, do I know how they get a black lightsaber crystal in Legends lore? Absolutely not. I had a friend at the time who said he claimed to know how, like, oh, you got to go to the bottom of the Sarlacc pit or something like that. But here's the thing. I think that he was making that up. That guy had a notorious reputation for just making things up on the fly. But it's something that I really just have to appreciate, because I do remember the surprise they gave, and it was something to look forward to really at the end of the game. Obviously, this game has way more cool parts than bad parts. A lot of people give the part where you pull the Star Destroyer out of space using the Force a lot of flack. But honestly, I just thought of it as a challenge itself. I mean, it wasn't my most favorite part of the game, but if you played it right, it actually was a lot easier than a lot of people like to make it. The boss fight with Darth Maul with Proxy was outstanding. It was just something that was fan service at the right time. Like, the last couple missions in this game, they really did a good job of servicing the fans and making this an adrenaline ride that we were comfortable with, you know, riding. But all in all, it took like 3 hours to finish everything, and by the time I was done with it, it was definitely that game that wasn't too long but not too short either. It told the story it needed to. It gave us a good time telling it, and then it bounced when it was time to wrap it up. up, and it was just that perfect puzzle piece at the time. Now, obviously, this game was not canon anymore. I don't think it was ever canon, but honestly, it's canon to me. It really is one of my favorite games, like one of my favorite Star Wars games, excuse me. Like, it's a three-way tie between this, the original Battlefront 2, and I would have to say Star Wars Jedi Survivor. It was literally the perfect nostalgia trip that I needed just to see everything that was good about the gaming's golden age, because this was one of those titles that really took off and gave us something worth playing back in what I call gaming's golden age, before all these AAA titles took over and got all these bad reputations, when video games were servicing the fans, you know, before the dark times, before the video game empire. And as both a video game fan and a Star Wars fan, all I could say is this is probably one of the best things that has ever come out in any lore timeline for the game of Star Wars. In fact, honestly, it probably is my favorite Star Wars story that has ever been told, whether it's currently canon or not. But that's pretty much all I got to say. What are your thoughts when you play this? Are you going to play it? Have you played it? What did you think? Leave it down in the comment section. But nah, this has been an episode where I totally glaze a game, and I can't think of any other game to glaze than Star Wars The Force Unleashed. Peace out.